This is how the NBA draft lottery came to be and forced the Celtics to miss out on two of the greatest players in NBA history. Most teams in the NBA can only dream of the chance at drafting a generational superstar. In a league dominated by star power since its inception, drafting a player that will change your franchise's fortunes has been proven again and again as the best way to succeed. Where would the dominant Bulls teams of the 1990s have been without drafting Michael Jordan? What about the Lakers in the 1980s without star point guard Magic Johnson? Imagine the dominant Celtics dynasty without their star player, Larry Bird. With their power waning in the 1990s and 2000s, the Boston Celtics had the incredible opportunity to enter the lottery to draft not one, but two generational superstars. But through the luck or misfortune of the NBA draft lottery, both players slipped through their fingers. This is how the NBA draft lottery came to be and forced the Celtics to miss out on two of the greatest players in NBA history. Up until the 1965 NBA season, the team with the worst record received the first pick in the draft. Pretty easy, right? Then in 1966, the association decided to reward the team in each conference with the worst record. When the season ended, the team with the worst record in the Eastern Conference and the team with the worst record in the Western Conference would meet for a coin flip to decide who won the rights to pick first overall, with the second worst team calling it heads or tails. The future of your franchise could have depended on it. The NBA saw a few problems with this. In 1968, the expansion San Diego Rockets, they wouldn't launch into Houston until 1971, finished with the worst record in the NBA. They entered into a coin flip with the team with the worst record in the Eastern Conference, the Baltimore Bullets. The Rockets won and selected eventual Hall of Famer Elvin Hayes with the first overall pick. The Bullets, picking second, selected eventual Hall of Famer Wes Unseld. Picking third was the newly formed Seattle Supersonics. The only problem? They had the second worst overall record, worse than the Baltimore Bullets. Picking third, they took Bob Kaufman. Who? Exactly. The other problem is the inexact science of the coin flip. Leading up to the 1979 draft, the Chicago Bulls called heads when the result was tails. The first pick went to the New Orleans Jazz, who owed their pick to the Los Angeles Lakers. They, of course, took college superstar Earvin Magic Johnson. The Bulls, they took Dave Greenwood. By the way, the Celtics had the second worst overall record that year and would have called the coin flip. If they called tails, Magic Johnson would have been a Celtic. Imagine that. The NBA also saw the team started to lose intentionally to try to get into the coin flip, the league's first instance of tanking. The last draft with the coin flip still in place was 1984, with the prize being Houston big man Hakeem Olajuwon. In order to secure their place in the coin flip, the Houston Rockets lost 14 of their last 17 games. They won the coin flip, took Olajuwon, and the rest is history. By the way, the Chicago Bulls desperately tried to get into the coin flip as well, losing 14 of their last 15 games. They didn't lose enough, ended up with a third pick, and took Michael Jordan. They were fine with that result. In order to give teams outside of the worst two teams a chance at getting the generational franchise-changing player, they decided to implement a lottery. Every team that misses the playoffs gets at least a chance at the number one overall pick. In that first draft lottery in 1985, every team that missed the playoffs had an envelope tossed into a drum, with the winner getting the chance to draft Georgetown star Patrick Ewing. The Knicks, with the third worst record in the league, won the lottery and selected Ewing, a pick that is still shrouded in allegations and conspiracy. As the lottery evolved, the team with the worst overall record would get a 25% chance at the top pick, while the team that just missed the playoffs would get a 0.5% chance. In the 1997 season, the Celtics finished with a dreadful 15 wins, the worst season in franchise history. In the Western Conference, the Vancouver Grizzlies were somehow worse, winning only 14 games, but were ineligible to get the first pick because of their expansion team status. The Celtics had 2 lottery picks after a trade with the Dallas Mavericks. That gave them 2 bites at the apple, a 36% chance of landing the top overall pick. That top overall pick was Wake Forest big man and Wooden Award winner Tim Duncan, the one and only can't-miss prospect in the draft. The man who would immediately return the once great Celtics to prominence alongside flashy new head coach Rick Pitino. But on May 18, 1997, those hopes and dreams were dashed by the lottery. The Celtics wound up with the 3rd and 6th overall picks, while the Spurs, who held 21.6% odds of getting the top pick, jumped into the first spot. That didn't stop Pitino from calling Spurs coach Greg Popovich and offering him whatever he wanted for that top overall pick. In response, Popovich said, quote, "The only way I could see us trading Tim Duncan is if someone offered us Michael, Magic, and Larry." Unfortunately for the Celtics and their fans, Michael, Magic, and Larry were not walking through that door.
Larry Bird's not walking through that door, fans. Kevin McHale's not walking through that door, and Robert Parrish is not walking through that door. And if you expect them to walk through the door, they're going to be gray and old.
Chauncey Billups and Ron Mercer were, however, coming to Boston with the 3rd and 6th picks. They combined to play 172 games for the Celtics, just fewer than the 1,392 Duncan played for the Spurs.
And if you think I'm going to succumb to negativity, you're wrong. You got the wrong guy leading this basketball team.
After a decade that saw only 4 playoff appearances, the 2007 NBA Draft Lottery allowed the Celtics, with the 2nd worst record in the association, the 2nd best odds to win the lottery, and the right to select one of 2 can't-miss prospects: Greg Oden, the dominant center from Ohio State, or Kevin Durant, the lethal scoring machine from Texas, would almost certainly be wearing Celtic green for years to come. Celtics GM Danny Ainge had fallen in love with Durant. He was even fined by the NBA for getting too close to his family. But on May 22, 2007, the ping pong balls yet again betrayed the Celtics, dropping them all the way to the 5th pick, the worst possible spot they could select. The Trailblazers jumped to the first pick with only a 5.3% chance. Don't feel too bad, though. The Celtics flipped that pick in a package for Ray Allen.
This is something that we've been talking about for a year.
And won the title that year.
That's how we do it! Yeah! Yeah!
The NBA Draft Lottery can be brutal, rewarding teams that don't totally deserve it. So while the Celtics missed out on 2 generational superstars in Tim Duncan and Kevin Durant, a few years later, they hit on superstars Jaylen Brown.
My excitement level, between 1 to 10, I'm about a 12 right now.
And Jayson Tatum.
You know, winning takes care of everything. So as long as we win, that's all that matters.
So, call it even? Many call it lucky. And who's more lucky than the Celtics?